How would you describe your faith background before you met Kim?
I would say I grew up in a home that went to church on Easter,
Mm-hmm.
Christmas, that kind of thing. Not really frequent at all.
Yeah.
Uh,
So did you see, because of lack of church, did you see faith in your parents growing up?
more of my grandfather, I think, was the one that was really the one pushing going to church.
Okay.
He was a churchgoer, but, as a kid, I was trying to do everything I could to keep from going because I wanted to go do other things,
Right. What did you feel? What did you observe when you first went into her home?
Well, yeah, I couldn't believe that they had the freedom to talk like they could to each other as long as they were respectful. They could ask questions about anything and everything and be okay with that. And there was order. It was nice. We all sat at the table and ate. Well, I did that at my home too, but it was a little different. I really thought they was rich.
Rich in faith.
Yeah, rich in faith. And I thought they was rich in money, but then I realized they weren't. We were just that poor.
What made you think we were rich? What's the
they had carpet, one thing. And another thing is that they use paper towels.
Oh, and they had two-ply bath.
They were, they had good toilet paper. Yeah, so I was like, man, these people have a lot of money, and because they use paper towels, and their water was different than ours. Ours was just like coming out of a water hose, and theirs had filters and stuff. I mean, they had a lot of money. They really didn't, but I thought they did.
And the preachers don't need a lot.
No, preachers don't make that much money. I think we just was that poor.
And Kim, with you growing up in your perfect world, so to speak, what was it from your family that you saw that you wanted to make sure was installed in your marriage to prepare your boys into?
I think when we first got married, one of the things that I was so surprised by, because, you date and everything's great and good. But once you get married, you see, like for Paul and I, the two worlds collided. I did not realize that people lived like he lived. I did not know they existed, even though we grew up 5 miles from each other.
Wow.
And, so when we got married, it was such an adjustment for both of us that we had to work very hard to learn how to communicate. But now by this time he had been a Christian for, 5-6 years, but that's a baby still. And so I would see things in one way that he would see polar opposite. And when it came to raising kids, it was the same way. When we both had, when Zachary and Jacob came along, we were, of course, young and we were doing our best. I wanted, of course, to raise them in the Lord, and so did Paul. But Paul never had the example that I had. And so once the boys started coming up, Paul would really watch how other people were raising their kids around here.
Well, and for those that are watching, these two both work here at Whitesville Road and been here a long time, and they have poured into thousands and thousands of people. And just like you can with your story, sharing Jesus, how he worked through your life. So I'm going to ask one quick question. We'll wrap up. What does it feel like when you see your children following the Lord?
Oh, my two boys are two of the best men I know. I proudly say that because they love the Lord. They love their families. They treat their wives like queens. They are the men that I've always wanted to be. And they are two of the finest guys I know. And I am so proud of them. Both of them are leaders in their churches. They both lead and they guide. They all, it's all been about me sharing the gospel, and it's them too. They're following suit, and all they want to do is please God and raise their families up to be godly.
Yeah.
To watch Zach and Jake with their wives and how, Paul has always told me that he has watched Dad and how Dad treated Mother, and he watched Carl Allison on how he treated Barbara. Dad would watch all these giants of the faith all those years and learned quietly from them, just watched them. And I think people don't realize living a good, godly, quiet life sometimes, you still have such an impact on future generations, because Paul watched these men as a young man, 18, 19, 20, and watched them, and he treated me in that he implemented what they were doing. And in the same way, once we had Zach and Jake grew up watching him love me, watching me respect Paul. Even when we'd have disagreements, the base was always Jesus. And Zach and Jake learned that.
What would you say to people that have not had the opportunity to be around godly people, don't know the Lord, and what that legacy feels like going forward?
I would think that if they're not Christians, they need to be Christians. They need to obey that gospel, and then start relying on God, leaning on God and His understanding, not yours. Start going to the Bible, because the Bible is going to lead you through raising your family. It's going to tell you how to be a husband. It's going to tell you how to be a father. It's going to tell you how to treat your children. It's going to teach you everything for someone to come in. But I would think that you need to find someone that is a mentor. Okay, so here's what I've learned about: you need to put Jesus first. He's the reason for everything. And then you're with Jesus's people. That don't make Jesus's people perfect, but it does mean they're Jesus's people. And that's where you need to be around. You need to find guys that you see and that you want to emulate. And that's what you need to do. That's what I did. I looked at some of the guys that I really admired over the years that had families, and I watched them, how they raised their families in the Lord, and how they were always here every day. The doors were open and all that. And that's what we did. And that's what I wanted to do. Plus Bill and Margaret, just hanging around those guys has really been a big deal for me too. And them loving me like a son was huge too, and Carl and Barbara and all them too.
Well, just understand, we all have legacies. Some are not really good, and they're roadblocks and barricades to life. And to be able to know that you can start over through Christ and build an eternal legacy is a powerful motivation.